The accusation, delivered in a cold voice, required no proof. His guilt had been decided in advance. But sometimes reality turns out to be far more tangled than it appears at first glance. Behind the facade of betrayal lay intricately woven webs of deception, and behind the silent smile, calculated revenge. He did not shout. He did not defend himself. He quietly gathered facts, one by one, turning pain into a weapon. When the truth finally surfaced, many were left without their masks, but some lost far more than just their faces. After all, the most devastating defeat is not a loud downfall, but the quiet realization that there is no longer a chance to make things right. Greetings, my dear viewer. Please tell me which city and country you're watching this video from. Maybe you're watching me from a small town or a gigantic metropolis. Write about it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends. It will make me very happy. Let's get started. Jonathan Cooper entered his home to find Melissa standing there, arms rigidly crossed. Before he could even slip off his shoes, she spoke, blunt and unwavering, announcing that she knew everything. Tamara, she claimed, was the woman involved, and she had already sought legal counsel. Jonathan froze, blindsided. Tamara? The name barely registered any significance. She had been a temporary hire, working briefly at a satellite office, and their interactions never went beyond polite nods. Yet Melissa appeared resolute, insisting that Trevor had laid everything bare and had proof to substantiate it. Jonathan struggled to grasp the origin of these accusations. Trevor wasn't even a close friend, just a colleague Melissa occasionally mentioned in passing. They weren't close, hardly more than workplace acquaintances. Still, Melissa insisted her decision was final. The marriage was over. She claimed she was too hurt to stay, packed her belongings, and left Jonathan standing in stunned silence. There had been no warning signs, no escalating arguments, no gradual drifting apart. It felt as if she had harbored her grievances in silence until they exploded. Jonathan lay awake the entire night, combing through memories, searching for any overlooked detail or misstep that could explain the situation. But there was nothing. Tamara had never crossed his mind in any inappropriate way. The next morning, desperate for answers, he contacted her. Tamara, sounding genuinely perplexed, admitted she hadn't thought about Jonathan in months and confirmed their relationship had been strictly professional. That's when Jonathan began to suspect Trevor, the supposedly concerned coworker. It didn't take long for Jonathan to realize that Trevor had fabricated an entire fiction designed to implicate him. Melissa had accepted it, or perhaps she had wanted to. Determined to find the truth, Jonathan began his own investigation. He dug through old messages, scrutinized schedules, analyzed access logs. Discrepancies surfaced almost immediately. Melissa claimed she was working late, yet building records showed her frequenting hotels. She said she was visiting her sister, but GPS data suggested otherwise. Jonathan documented it all meticulously: receipts, email archives, phone records, building an airtight case. He made no accusations, no confrontations, choosing instead to gather undeniable proof. Meanwhile, Melissa accelerated the divorce process, serving him papers that accused him of adultery and demanded a large share of their joint assets. She painted Jonathan as the sole cause of the collapse. Without resistance, Jonathan signed the preliminary documents, but kept working quietly behind the scenes. He stopped pleading his case. He stopped arguing. He focused solely on revealing the truth. Gradually, a clearer picture took shape. Melissa and Trevor had been involved. Traces lingered online, deleted photos, lingering comments, recovered likes, forming a pattern too consistent to ignore. The more Jonathan uncovered, the more his anger hardened into cold resolve. But he knew he needed incontrovertible proof. Then, without warning, an anonymous email arrived. No subject line, no body, only an attachment. When Jonathan opened it, he found a video. It showed Melissa and Trevor together, laughing, touching, exchanging cruel jokes about him. They mocked Jonathan openly, calling him a fool. Melissa didn't laugh nervously or with regret. Her laughter was sharp, mocking, and final, as if the man she once vowed to love was now a source of ridicule. Jonathan watched the video once, emotionless. Then he calmly saved it, printed multiple copies, and forwarded it to his attorney. This wasn't about emotions anymore. It was about justice. He swiftly closed joint accounts, canceled shared credit cards, moved out without leaving a forwarding address, and severed every possible connection with Melissa. From that point onward, emotions had no place, only strategy. And Jonathan was ready. He finally understood. Melissa had dismantled their marriage herself, lied under oath, and scorned him in private, all while propping up a false narrative spun by a man who preyed on her discontent. Jonathan no longer needed to defend himself. The video would tell the whole story to anyone who mattered. And this was only the beginning. As Jonathan replayed the video in his mind, his anger sharpened into precision. Doubt was gone. Melissa's betrayal was no longer a mystery. Trevor had been her accomplice. Everything that once seemed confusing now made perfect sense: the coldness, the unwarranted arguments, the snap judgments. Tamara had simply been a convenient scapegoat. Trevor had orchestrated an intricate deception without ever explicitly lying. He hinted, suggested, implied, weaving a story of supposed infidelity without direct evidence. And Melissa, already restless and dissatisfied with her life, chose to believe it. It was easier to see Jonathan as the villain than to confront her own desires. Trevor claimed he had seen Jonathan and Tamara together, leaving the office suspiciously, dining out. He even produced a manipulated screenshot as proof. Trevor feigned concern, playing the role of the sympathetic friend who thought Melissa deserved better. He set the trap carefully, and Melissa walked right into it. From that moment forward, she interpreted Jonathan's every action through a filter of suspicion. Small gestures became signs of betrayal. Innocent words were twisted into confessions. Their marriage, already weighed down by routine and emotional fatigue, crumbled under the weight of her distrust. Trevor had picked his timing well. Melissa had long expressed dissatisfaction with her stagnant life, her feeling of being unseen. And there he was, the attentive colleague, the caring confidant, the patient listener. He listened carefully, offering her the sympathy she craved, and then suggested a simple explanation for her unhappiness. Jonathan had been unfaithful. It was a convenient falsehood, perfectly suited for someone already emotionally fragile, and that was precisely why Melissa embraced it so easily. She wasn't simply deceived, she chose to be. It granted her the excuse she needed to give in to the desire she had long suppressed. Jonathan would later uncover the truth, not just through a recording. He had pieced it together methodically, cross-referencing dates, examining GPS data, poring over saved messages and old emails. Melissa had claimed she was visiting her sister, but the location records told a different story: hotel stays. She insisted she was buried in business meetings, but her corporate calendar showed long gaps of free time, small discrepancies, minor details that didn't add up. One by one, Jonathan fit the pieces together, assembling a picture he wished he didn't have to see. And as each piece clicked into place, the hidden betrayal came into sharper focus. What devastated him most wasn't the affair itself, but the cruelty captured on video. They hadn't merely hidden their meetings, they openly ridiculed him. They laughed about his quiet nature, his trusting heart, his reserved mannerisms. It was cruel mockery. Jonathan sat frozen for hours, staring at the paused frame. That single image of them together made it feel as though everything he had built with Melissa had disintegrated. The pain was sharp, cutting deep. But he resolved not to let it consume him. Instead, he would turn it into a weapon, a means to reclaim his dignity and unmask the truth, that the woman posing as the wronged party was the real betrayer. He went to the bank and swiftly canceled her secondary credit card. He pulled half the money from their joint account and updated the billing information on all their shared accounts. Then, he reached out to his lawyer. He handed over a collection of evidence, photos, video footage, text conversations. He made a single, unwavering request: justice. In court, emotions could sway sympathies, but facts would stand unshaken. And now, Jonathan held the facts. He realized he had lost Melissa the moment she believed the word of a near stranger, rather than trust the man she had vowed to share her life with. The one who unraveled their marriage hadn't needed violence, just carefully aimed, venomous lies whispered into the ears of a woman ready to believe. Now, that poison would be exposed, and no one would escape the reckoning. The hearing day arrived. Jonathan woke early, dressed with composed precision, and made his way to court fully prepared. Along the drive, he replayed every moment from the past months: the false allegations, the clandestine affair, the damning video, the long nights spent assembling evidence, and the deliberate choice to seek justice rather than lash out. Today, all that restraint would prove its worth. Upon entering the courtroom, he spotted Melissa already seated beside her attorney. Her face carried a tense mixture of anger and unease. She remained silent, likely clinging to the belief that the story she had rehearsed would carry her through. When the judge called the session to order, the proceedings began. Melissa's lawyer spoke first, accusing Jonathan of cheating with a woman named Tamara. He claimed that a trusted source had exposed Jonathan's infidelity, shattering Melissa's world. His delivery was impassioned, painting Melissa as a broken woman abandoned by a cruel husband. It was a compelling portrayal, if only it had been true. But Tamara did not exist beyond fabricated claims. There were no incriminating photos, no damning texts, no solid proof, only the lies crafted by Trevor, who was noticeably absent. When Jonathan's lawyer rose to speak, he moved quickly. He submitted a thick file to the judge containing documented timelines, hotel receipts, message threads, and most crucially, the video. He requested a private review to protect sensitive content. The judge agreed and exited the courtroom with the materials. Jonathan remained still, his stare fixed ahead, while Melissa grew visibly uneasy. She fidgeted with her phone, glanced nervously around the room, biting her lower lip. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering, but Melissa stayed frozen. After several tense minutes, the judge returned. Without a hint of drama, the judge announced that the accusations against Jonathan were unproven. Melissa, he stated, had failed to provide even minimal evidence to support her claims, while Jonathan had presented clear, undeniable proof of her infidelity. The judge stressed the seriousness of fabricating accusations to manipulate judicial proceedings. As a result, he awarded Jonathan the larger share of their marital assets, full ownership of the house and shared investments, and denied Melissa any spousal support. Melissa tried to protest, claiming she had been deceived, misled by someone who distorted the truth. But the judge interrupted her sharply, reminding her that her choices were hers alone. Melissa fell silent. For the first time, her composure cracked. The color drained from her cheeks, her posture sagged. She turned to Jonathan with tear-filled eyes, as if finally grasping the enormity of what she had done. Jonathan offered no reaction. He walked out of the courtroom without a backward glance. His lawyer asked if he wanted to make a public statement, but Jonathan declined. There was no need. The evidence, the documents, the recordings, the undeniable truth had already spoken for him. As he crossed the threshold of the courthouse, a sensation he hadn't felt in years swept over him, a profound, almost unfamiliar lightness. Though the finality of the proceedings weighed on him, guilt was conspicuously absent. In the parking lot, his phone vibrated with a call from an unknown number. On the other end, Trevor's wife spoke, her voice trembling. She explained that she had seen the video and asked if they could meet in person so she could better understand everything. Jonathan politely declined, but confirmed the authenticity of what she had received. He told her she deserved to know the truth about the man she shared her life with, and now she did. Trevor had managed to ruin 2 marriages with a single falsehood, and Melissa had willingly played her part. Jonathan wasn't interested in revenge. He wanted something far more valuable: peace. And as he left the courthouse that day, that's exactly what he carried with him: peace, the truth behind him, and a future untethered to deceit. The fight was over. Justice had been delivered. Melissa's web of lies had unraveled. The betrayal had been laid bare. Still, one question lingered in Jonathan's mind. The video, the pivotal piece of evidence that exposed Melissa and Trevor's affair, had arrived anonymously via email, with no sender, no note, no clue to its origins. In the chaos of preparing for court, Jonathan had submitted the video without questioning its source. The judge accepted it as legitimate evidence, but how it had come to him remained an unsolved mystery. Until, one afternoon, his phone rang again. Another unfamiliar number. He hesitated, then answered. A young man's voice came through, polite but uneasy. The caller introduced himself as Aaron, a technician at a local phone repair shop. Aaron explained that he was contacting Jonathan out of respect. He admitted he was the one who had sent the video. Jonathan stiffened, saying nothing, as Aaron began to recount what had happened. Trevor had brought his phone in for service, complaining about freezing and storage issues. From the moment Trevor entered the shop, he was rude, dismissive, and demanding. He spoke down to the staff, made it clear he was in a hurry, and treated everyone as if they were beneath him. Despite Trevor's attitude, Aaron did his job, but the encounter left a sour taste. As he worked on the phone, Aaron came across a disorganized folder crammed with images and videos. Hidden inside was the video. At first, Aaron considered ignoring it. But curiosity got the better of him when he noticed it was over 20 minutes long and labeled with a tag, Melissa Hotel. He pressed play. What he saw stunned him. Melissa and Trevor, unmistakable in the footage. He could hear their voices, see their faces. What shocked him even more was the disdain they voiced for Jonathan, a man they barely even knew. Their cruelty was unsettling. And for Aaron, it resonated deeply, because Trevor had treated him and his colleagues with the same contempt. Watching the video was like seeing Trevor's true character captured perfectly. But it wasn't just the cruelty. The footage contained names, including Jonathan's, and enough details, surnames, places, to identify those involved. Driven by a sense of moral duty, Aaron began his own investigation. He searched through social media, public records, and slowly pieced together the puzzle. Eventually, he stumbled upon an old social media post, Melissa and Jonathan at a New Year's event, with the location tagged. From there, it wasn't difficult to find Jonathan's work email address through a business directory. He attached the file and sent it. On the call, Aaron apologized for not reaching out sooner. He confessed he had struggled with whether sending the video was the right thing to do. But after learning it had been used in court and had helped reveal the truth, he felt compelled to explain himself. Jonathan listened quietly, then thanked him sincerely. He told Aaron that his decision had changed everything. Without that evidence, he might have been unjustly condemned. Before ending the call, Jonathan asked the question that had been on his mind. Why had Aaron decided to send it? Aaron replied without hesitation. Trevor had treated him terribly, and people like that didn't deserve to walk all over others. That, he said simply, was reason enough. They ended the conversation. Jonathan stood still afterward, phone in hand, thinking about how sometimes justice finds its path through the most unexpected means. A technician, a rude customer, a forgotten video, and one courageous choice. And it had changed everything. Time moved forward. Jonathan rebuilt his life quietly, with dignity and resilience that few could have predicted. The name that had once been nearly ruined by lies now carried weight and respect. He kept his home, reorganized his finances, grew his consulting business, and turned pain into personal growth. Each restless night became fuel for his transformation. The memories of what he had survived became anchors, preventing him from falling into past mistakes. He committed to therapy, returned to regular workouts, distanced himself from those who thrived on scandal, and surrounded himself with people of integrity. He never spoke ill of Melissa publicly. He never sought revenge. Life, he believed, would take care of that in its own time. Melissa lost far more than a marriage. After the verdict, she had to move. Friends quietly drifted away, no longer convinced by the version of events she had told. The video, never openly discussed, circulated discreetly among those who had once been close to Trevor. No one confronted her, but the glances changed. The phone stopped ringing. Invitations ceased. As for Trevor, his fall was even quicker. Within days of learning the truth, his wife left him. The end of their marriage unfolded quietly. No heated arguments, no legal disputes, just a precise and dispassionate division of property, executed with the precision of a surgeon, leaving no grounds for disagreement. After watching the incriminating video, she knew exactly what had to be done, and she acted with cold efficiency. After the divorce was finalized, Trevor attempted to contact Melissa, yet she immediately blocked his calls and messages, refusing any further communication. The finality of her silence said everything. With Trevor out of her life and the financial security she once enjoyed alongside Jonathan gone, Melissa's situation quickly deteriorated. She attempted to move to other cities, applying for jobs, but her last name always resurfaced, shadowed by scandal. She sought a fresh start at a small firm, but resigned shortly after joining. Later, she embarked on a business venture with a friend, but it collapsed in less than 5 months. Every new attempt faltered before it could truly begin, trapping her in an endless loop of failures and unrealized hopes. At last, worn down by repeated disappointments, Melissa summoned the courage to reach out to Jonathan. She drafted a long, somber message, brimming with regret. She insisted she wasn't asking for pity. She simply needed to confess the overwhelming shame, the hollowness, and the deep sense of loss that had settled within her. In her message, she revealed that Trevor had lied about Tamara. The accusations had been baseless. Melissa admitted she had always known, in her heart, that Jonathan was a good and honorable man. Still, she chose to believe Trevor because it provoked feelings she didn't dare examine, feelings born from her own dissatisfaction. She expressed a wish to rebuild some form of relationship between them, even if only as friends. Jonathan read her message carefully, let out a long breath, and reflected. He thought about who he was when she had first cast her accusations and who he had grown into since then. After a quiet moment, he composed a short but genuine reply. He wrote that he forgave her, but made it clear there was nothing left between them to salvage. Some fractures, he explained, are too profound to ever fully heal. He had finally learned to value himself enough to stop trying to repair what others had willfully destroyed. Melissa never replied. Months later, Jonathan found himself at a dinner with colleagues at a refined restaurant downtown. By his side was Claire, a woman with whom he was building a relationship defined by sincerity and ease, free from the shadows of his past. Jonathan greeted everyone warmly, took his seat, and laughed freely at a colleague's joke, unaware of what was happening elsewhere in the room. Across the restaurant, Melissa stepped out from a service corridor. Now working as the restaurant manager, she caught sight of him. She noticed his easy smile, the quiet confidence in his posture, the calm certainty in his gaze. She saw Claire sitting close to him. She saw the luxury car parked just outside. She saw the life she once might have had. For a moment, she stood motionless, unable to move. Then, quietly, she turned and retreated into the back room, unwilling to confront him, or the reality of all she had lost. That evening was not just an accidental crossing of paths. It became a silent reckoning, a stark reminder that choices have consequences, that lies eventually lead to loneliness. and that sometimes the most painful punishment is witnessing from afar the happiness you once so carelessly threw away. Jonathan left the restaurant unaware of her presence. As he and Claire climbed into the car, he placed his hand gently over hers and commented on how special the evening had been. And it truly was. Without even knowing it, he had turned the final page on that old chapter. The pain he had once carried had been transformed into hard-earned wisdom. His fall had become the foundation for his rise. The betrayal had, in the end, become a teacher, and he moved forward, never looking back. Some endings, after all, are not meant to be followed by another word, only silence. Our story has come to an end. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the way I tell stories, head over to my channel and check out my other videos. May the force be with you. See you soon, my friend.